All right, Finn. So I'm going to be analyzing your video from Wednesday's bullpen. First of all, I'm just going to play it. Both of the videos that I have on here, it's going to be your mechanics and as well as Zach Greinke's mechanics. I know I said I was going to analyze Greg Maddox's for you, but I feel like Greinke may be a more common-day pitcher that's very close to your style. So first, I'm just going to play the clip just so you kind of have an idea of what you're coming from. Just pay attention to the top there. So, if I can get it back here, also bear with me. You're the first guy who I am doing this for. So, if we're going to start off with you, for the most part, I like your mechanics, to say the least. You have a right away, very strong base, a very good athletic base. We're in the middle of our shoulders, and we're also, I talked to one of the players the other day. You probably left by that point. But the big key with our mechanics is our head right here, because our head weighs 7 pounds. And if it's not down the middle or in the center of our balance point, we're going to go through one of two places. Sometimes we'll pull out, or sometimes we'll pull this way. But it's important that if we are in the center, we're going to take everything going this way, right? So, with that being said, let's look at your mechanics to start out. Now, the one thing that stands out to me, I know that you're going from a slide step position, but just watch what you do to start off your mechanics here. I'm going to try to go in slow motion, see if you can see it. So right there, if you notice, we're not really gaining ground, right? Because if you think about it, the fastest way, let's say your body is point A and the mound is point B. The quickest way to that is a straight line, right? Right? So the problem is we're automatically going straight down to the ground. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but we should be taking what we're doing going to the ground here and instead transferring it going this way. So you may be asking yourself, well, how do I do that? How do I get my mechanics to drive to the mound? Because think about, and this is also why you're probably missing out on a lot of velocity here, is just because of you already, like you're in a good athletic position and then you drop. Not only to mention, let's just even look at a more basic thing. Your eye level is right here, right? Where does that eye level drop? It drops to right here. So there's two different variables now when it comes to our eye level. One of them being up with the blue line where we started out our mechanics, and then by the end of our mechanics, we're kind of teeter-tottering back up to that point, but really we're staying down the middle. So at first, we're starting at the blue, going down to the yellow, and then coming back up through the middle. So if we want to take that even further, if I want to draw 3 lines there, that's already 3 different eye levels. And the human brain can't process that amount of information in such a small given time. So that's why you may see a couple accuracy issues when we're throwing. But going back onto when you're going straight down, the big key with it is this part right here, which is our ass. We need to bring our ass down the hill. So if you heard me saying to a couple guys yesterday, stay true to your form, what I mean by that is and we'll take a look now at Zach Greinke. Watch what Greinke's doing. So first things first, even though he's having a leg kick, even if we're saying that he's going from a leg kick or if he's going from the slide step, first things first, he's poking his ass straight to the batter. Sorry, straight to the batter, which is key because that's going to lead his body to go downhill and that's going to lead everything else. So watch what he's doing. So he's leading with the ass, And he's working downhill, as you see there. He's working downhill. He's not going straight down with it. Instead, he's kind of ramping it is the best way I could say it. Think about it like if Zach Greinke was to ride a ramp down, watch where his body's going. His body is going straight down that ramp versus if we go up to you and we put a ramp down here, we're just dropping. We're just dropping. We're not really riding that ramp, you see. Versus Greinke, if we go back, he's riding that out. And most likely, this is an extension pitch from Greinke, if you notice. If we want to clear everything here. If we notice, with that back foot right there, he's staying really back on that. That's how he's going to get that extension side like what we were talking about yesterday. Now, the last thing I really want to talk about, because otherwise, I mean, your mechanics, if we somehow figure out a way to get you to ride down that ramp here, if we could figure out a way to get you to ride down that ramp more and get your ass to go to the mound, that is how we're going to get more velocity, and that's how we're going to stay true to it. So whenever you hear a coach or one of your players maybe that comes up to you and says, work down the mound, this is exactly what we're meaning. Because think about it, Greinke right now is working down that mound. He's using that ramp to work down the mound. So now we get into this point right here. Now there's something I really want to point out that's really good here. It's your arm angle right there. If you've ever heard of the term when you're throwing, that throwing a baseball is like a whip, this is how we're going to get velocity. Same thing with what Greinke's doing right here. That's a good arm angle to have, so we're great on that right now. The final thing, though, I want to show you something, and this is exactly why you and, I believe, Greinke are very similar. I want you to take a look at where your knee is versus where Greinke's knee is. If you notice, your knee is more bent and Greinke's knee is more straight. The best way I can describe this is like a catapult. So let's just say if you ever have seen how a catapult works, how it gets this velocity to go is by whipping around like this, right? That's how a catapult works. Catapult does not have, let me see if I can make a good one. Just bear with me here. The problem is there's not much support on that knee right there, right? Versus this, where it's got a straight beam support. So that's similar to what we want our leg to be doing. Of course, it's good to have some bend in it, but we also want it to have that kind of catapult effect to it. And as well, if you notice sometimes when you're throwing, you kind of just come to a stop right there and then start following through rather than watch Greinke. Greinke's following through the whole way. He's following through that whole way. Versus us, we're kind of just stopping right about here. And then we're having a delayed follow through. And that's not necessarily bad, and that's not necessarily something to look at entirely right now. That's something we can really fix by honestly getting that leg a little bit more straight. But besides that, and I'll also play these again over each other. I'll try to get them in similar positions here for you. So this is both of y'all's overlaid right now. Very similar, also very similar pitching styles, also very similar in the way that y'all go about the mentality of the game, which is something I really like about you, is that you have good mentality when you're on the mound. You're there to take names, and you're there to compete, which is really, really good as a pitcher to do. If we're also looking here, something you do really, really well too is with this lead arm action right here. We're doing really good. Now, if there's anything we could do different, what we could do is really get that lead arm out there and possibly get our shoulders more square. That's something we could possibly do. But other than that, you also tuck the glove in really, really well. But overall, your bullpen was really, really good the other day. I believe it was your changeup that looked really good. Curveball slider looked fine. Fastball looked good. But right now, going into this next week in practice, let's kind of focus on that. And I'll also make sure to keep the Zach Greinke video and show you kind of more about that when it comes to practice this week, and then preparing for the OKC tournament this week.